Hey guys, Jim Stevenson with the Minnesota Tournament Trail with episode 2 of The Trail presented by Summit Fishing Equipment. Tonight we have Dave Askew and Mitch Weber, a couple of our tournament anglers from this season, joining us. Hey guys.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, how's it going? So yeah, it's almost time to be done. We're going to talk a little bit about your season, uh, the tournament season as a whole. There's been a lot going on. It's been a crazy, crazy summer for all of us. If somebody would have told me when I took this gig over at the end of February how busy it was going to be for the next 6 months, first of all, I'd have thought they were crazy, and second of all, I probably would have rethought my options and my choices. But it's been great. Let's let's start with you guys. Just either one of you guys can start. How'd it go for you guys this year?
We had a good year. It was had a lot of top tens. I mean, this is only my second year in the tournament circuits. My first year fishing the MTT circuit, and I feel like we had a pretty solid year this year with some top 10 finishes, and would have liked to done better on some other bodies of water, but overall, it's been a good year. Definitely had a good time up at Lake of the Woods with the Warrior Classic up there. We had a fifth place finish in that, and the weekend after, my brother and I had a second place finish. It was definitely a fun bite, and the big ones. I mean, they were hard to come by, but when you found them, and we got into them both days, and it was probably our two best days of fishing on the water we've ever had. And it was fun to do it with my brother this year, and we're looking forward. We fished the AIM circuit together this year, but next year I think we might be switching some things up, and Matt Weber and I will be fishing the MTT circuit full swing. So we're looking forward to it. Got one more event this year on the wax, and should be an interesting bite, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it will be interesting for sure. I keep watching the 10-day forecast as it gets closer. Right now, pre-fishing doesn't look too bad, but we don't get to see what the tournament days are going to look like just quite yet. We were just up north on Lake of the Woods last weekend for the Chili Bowl, and Friday was super windy and cold. Saturday they got blessed with a great day. This is my first year being up there for that event, and boy, it was like I can only imagine it's probably about the nicest weather they've had for mid October for an event up there. And then we got smacked with cold and huge winds on Sunday, so it was good. You mentioned you had a good year. You were on a great bite with your brother. You know, second year tournament fishing, first year with us. You know, what were the big things for you that helped you with your successes this year? As the year goes on, there's always stuff changing. You find a new way to fish a different body of water. Um, you had the opportunity, I know, to fish Lake of the Woods with us with the AIM. Um, you know, what changed throughout the year, to attribute to your successes and changes?
Um, we found we just fished faster. I mean, I feel like when we didn't do well in events this year, I wasn't fishing fast enough or on the right fish. Didn't come across the right fish in a pre-fish, and when we were in the right area on tournament day, we'd put the pedal down and go, and that was a lot of the success. I mean, we compared to last year, we really put the pedal down on the water this year, and I mean, a lot of times we'll we'll push at 6-7 miles an hour to find the right marks to throw at, driving over fish. And that was our biggest success this year, I think, is, figuring out a faster way to fish and more efficient, and seeing more of the right marks throughout the day was our biggest gain this year, I believe.
Oh, for sure, makes sense. Dave, you had a heck of a year too. You you had lots of top 10 finishes, um, one of each to be exact. Uh, we joked about that halfway through the year, and then it panned out that way. So it was a little bit funny, but a real consistent year. Consistently in the top 10. Um, how talk about your season a little bit. You had some ups and downs too. You fished multiple circuits too, so you were busy all summer as well.
Yeah, no, it was a busy summer. I mean, I think by the time we're done here, I think I'm around 23 derbies for the season. So we certainly fished a lot. The season was good. Really no complaints. I mean, it's fishing, right? You're never going to go out there and whack them every day. Definitely had some ups and downs at the beginning of the season, as you well know. A few partner changes. I mean, I even fished with your boy for a weekend on Mille Lacs, which was great, and won him his first plaque. So no, I mean, it's fishing, right? I mean, you go out there and you try your best, but sometimes the pre-fishing is better than the derby day, and learning to adjust on the derby days is what puts you in the winner circle. So it was a great season all around. I mean, MTT. You're a little bit bad luck for me this year. I mean, going last regular season event. Well, I ask you, you only need a 10th place, and you've got them all this year. Well, sure enough, championship 10th place. But a great season, guys. Game-wise, we qualified for the Nationals, so we're excited for that next year. There are a couple of derbies at the end of the year. The Carpenters Classic on Leech, which I got to fish with Mitch, and the Food for Hunger Derby on Gull Lake, which is both for great causes, fun derbies. We had some fun there. But no, great season. I mean, I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time on the water this year, which, my wife and kids are thankful it's almost to an end, one more here. But it was a good season. It's fishing, and any day you're fishing is better than working.
For sure. There's, you kind of mentioned, the time on the water thing. It's amazing to see how much time guys are spending on the water. How many days of pre-fishing do you guys usually spend before you're out fishing for your derby?
I mean, I like if it's a lake that we are reasonably comfortable with, 2 days. Anything more, is a little unnecessary. You start to maybe beat your fish up. Lake Woods in July, where we actually went up and won. I mean, I had 1 day of pre-fish, and we stumbled into our area on that 1 day. So, I mean, if you know the lake pretty well, I mean, I like at least 2 days, 2 good days. I'll take 3, but 2 days is good for me.
For sure. Any big upsets this year? I mean, anything that you just didn't see coming that changed your season at all?
No, I mean, not really. At the beginning, I had to, my regular partner from last year wasn't able to fish, so that was kind of a little bit of a change there, just dialing in, and like I said, your boy came in the boat, which we had a blast that weekend, and then I picked up Julian for the rest of the season with MTT, and then John Hunt jumped in for the aim. But no, I mean, we had some derbies this year, like everyone has. We're on great pre-fishing, great fish. The fish are there, they're there, and then come derby day, they're not there. So that's fishing. But no, I mean, no one can ever complain. Like I said, I mean, most of the time we were luckily enough, fortunate enough to finish in the top 10s, which, that's a good day for anyone's standards.
For sure. It is, all of the events you guys are fishing, they're team events, right? So you sign up as a captain and a partner, captain, partner, captain, captain, netman, call them what you want to call them. But I know you had the opportunity to fish together a little bit, but outside of fishing together, talk about that partner dynamic. What does it take? That's probably one of the things I hear about a lot is, man, I'd love to come out and fish, but I just don't know. I can't find a partner. I don't. I can't find a confident partner. I
Yeah.
can't find all those things. What do you look for in a partner or your co-angler for the season?
I think the partner dynamic is, fishing these team events it's a big deal. Um, it proved it this year in my boat fishing with my brother in a lot of events. And when you're with a guy that you guys think alike, you fish alike, there's times we'd be rolling our lines up together and the trolling motor would be coming up and we didn't even say we were going. We just knew we were going. And, to get in that kind of sync and be able to team fish like that, you definitely start, getting up in the leaderboard when you're both on the same page and really know what's going on in the boat. And it don't matter who catches the fish. I mean, it don't matter who's running the boat. I mean, there's times this year my brother had sit up in the front of my boat that we ran all year, and I was very comfortable with him running it. He's comfortable with me running it. It didn't matter who was in charge. And if you can find that kind of dynamic in a partner fishing tournaments, it can be a special deal. And we had a lot of fun this year doing it.
Awesome. I can ask you the same question, Dave. Like you said, you had to have a partner change in the beginning of the year. Yeah, Wayland's he snuck in with you for, one weekend, and he had a blast. Of course, I mean he's 14 years old. Who wouldn't have a blast going out and doing that thing and coming home with a plaque and all those things? But as the guy that is the captain of that boat, you went through basically you had three partners for the MTT this year. What kind of stress does that add when you're going into tournament day thinking, where are we at with this partner? Because you can't teach your partner, or your partner can't teach you all of your nuances in one tournament. How long does that take to kind of shake the fog?
Well, and it wasn't really till this year that I kind of really started to understand the dynamic of your partners. I mean, forward facing changed everything in a boat ride. But utilizing your partners has always been, well, what's the guy in the back going to do? Now, I can speak for my boat. Inclement weather, knowing how to run that boat, push you along, back off when you need to, get you in position. And when you're up on Lake of the Woods and 5-footers, you ain't going to do that on the trolling, not effectively anyway. But just in terms of now, a lot of the guys, and, my boat's one of them, we have the shuttle in the back. And I can speak to Waylon and Julie in this. I mean, Lake of the Woods. I mean, they spotted a number of fish that I wasn't seeing. Whether they were 120, 140 out to the left, to the right. So brought massive benefits in that regards. I mean, we definitely caught fish on Lake of the Woods that I didn't see, to start with off the front of the boat. And then being comfortable in that role, right? I mean, it's a team event. I don't care who catches fish, right? It's a team sport where it's what you come into the weigh-in with. So when you find that dynamic, right? I mean, everyone has a role and it's an important role to be successful. I mean, if you want to compete, it's one thing if you're going out for fun and, doing your thing. But if you want to compete with some of these guys, I mean, both guys are going to be good at what they do. And now, whether that's running the boat and boat control or casting on the fish, that's each team, right? They everyone has their strengths, but a good team, both people are super engaged throughout the day and have their specific tasks which they're good at.
For sure. Just please tell me you didn't let my kid run your boat.
I did. Wide open. No. I mean, the cool thing with Waylon, right? I mean, it was his first opportunity to go out and kind of see what derby fishing is now, at least in regards to forward face and sonar. And don't quote me if I'm wrong, but we caught him a couple PBs, and You know, it was cool for him to see how it works and how we move the boat, and yeah, I mean, I think he had fun. I hope he had fun.
Oh, well, he had a blast, but being you said it, we'll pick on him because he's not here. You had a couple of firsts that you've probably never seen in your boat before when he was fishing with you too. It's going from a little bit older partner that's got all the experience you need to somebody to fill a seat.
Yeah, I mean that particular instance, and I remember we were sitting outside the front of Izades. It was pre-fishing, and I was tying some lines for the next day. And I said, "Get up there, run the trolling motor, look for a cherry, go wild, just don't run aground." So he jumped up there, and I'm doing my thing, and all of a sudden, boom! And I turn around, and he's lying. He's just on his back, and I'm like, "What happened?" Wow, I forgot that your butt seat doesn't have a back, and I went to lean into it and went ass over tea kettle. I'm like, it's a good thing you hit the freaking windscreen, but no, I mean, he laughed. I mean, that boat was just moving from gut laughs for 30 minutes after that. So,
Yeah.
no, and that's the fun of fishing, right? I mean, it was something he'll remember. I'll remember certainly. To my dying days, we laughed about it, and but it was fun this year to be able to experience. And even Julian, right? Julian's young. He started off the season doing his own thing in his own boat, but it was fun to be able to take him out. And I would like to think that he learned a fair amount this year. I'm still learning. This is only my third year derby fishing, so I mean I'm learning, but it's fun to be able to pass along some of these things to the kids, and hopefully they get as crazy about it as we are.
Oh, for sure. Again, Julian's not here, in studio with us, but, you said it, they started out the season kind of on their own. And I will tell you, those are a couple of young guys with some heart. There was some times on Mille Lacs where, the water wasn't super beautiful. And those boys were out there in that 16-foot Crestliner boat just pounding away because they were going to do it, and until the opportunity came up with you, they did it every weekend.
Yep.
My wife used to laugh. She's like, are the boys fishing again? Are the boys fishing again? Because it was just super exciting to see that drive. They coming out next to these huge rigs, fancy boats, all this stuff, people that have been working their whole life to pay for all their stuff. And you got two 20, 21-year-old kids out in a boat doing their thing. And I mean, that's what it's all about.
Well, it is, and I think I think we were both fishing that derby on Mille Lacs this year. It wasn't a fun day. I mean, it was pretty sporty out there. I remember towards the end of the day, it was actually me and Waylon. Like, we're gonna rip into Cove Bay here, see if we can pick up a few more when we're in there. I remember we ripped into there, and sure enough, there's Julian and Charlie sitting in the back of Cove Bay. And it was only an hour left till we had to be in, and I'm like, I mean, it was 2-3 footers out on the main lake. Yeah. And I remember, like, you've got more guts than I do. So, yeah, I mean, they were all in, and that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we all said, that's what it's about, watching the young guys grow up in the sport and, passing that torch, so just that torch of knowledge, like being able to see how to do all the things. We talked briefly earlier about, like Mitch mentioned a couple of things that I'd like to hit on. He said you weren't fishing fast enough. You were, doing all those things. Explain what that means a little bit, for some of the people that don't understand how you guys are catching fish right now in these tournaments. Once I went out and actually saw it, I was like, this is insane. I couldn't do this for 2 days straight. I wouldn't be able to stand up straight for a month. But talk about that, the type of fishing that it is. Dave mentioned it a little too. Like, you're not going to do it with the trolling motor. Well, how do you fish without a trolling motor or an anchor? What does that mean?
Well, even when we did fish, we fished with our trolling motor most of the year. But when it's rough out, you're running your big motor to move and stay on fish. But Dave and I fished the Carpenters tournament on Leech 2 weeks ago, and I got my guy at Sprangle Performance in Anoka. He rigs my boat, and works on my trolling motor and whatnot. And he built me a trolling motor for my boat with the longer shaft. And I called him up, and it was actually the MTT tournament, the championship up on Lake of the Woods. My trolling motor was flying out of the water. It wouldn't stay latched, so I rammed a screwdriver in it to keep it keep it from flying up in the air, to keep it on the ground. I run my trolling motor, it says 10 power, but I think it's on 12 most of the time. And I brought my trolling motor into him the week before we went up for that Carpenters, and he goes, I ain't never seen one like this. We wore the aluminum right out of the thing. And that was in one season. And that's the type of fishing. What I mean fast, I mean we know what marks we're looking for when we're out there, and if we're not seeing them, we're moving at a clip to find them. And sometimes these fish, they'll move a quarter mile or a half mile, and you just start, if you're on them pre-fishing, you kind of just got to grit it off on Derby Day and try to find them again. They could move a mile, especially on Lake of the Woods. They can move a mile, 2 miles overnight, and you just got to get on it and try to find them again. The biggest thing is going fast to do it with your electronics.
For sure. Anything to add, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, Mitch hit it right. I mean, once you figure out the basic deals of forward facing in terms of the mark, right, the cherry, and giving it a presentation that it's going to bite. I mean, it's really no big secret. It comes down to covering water. I mean, unless you get lucky, you're never going to find a pot of 28 sitting there that you can spot lock on and cast out and pluck, right? So, like at Lake of the Woods, I mean, I know in July, I mean, I waypointed our fish for anywhere from a quarter to a third mile apart from each other. So, I mean, you had to cover ground. There are instances which, you're going to find them in tight groups, but the name of the game pretty much is covering water. I mean, it's if you're not covering water, you're moving too slow. It's the biggest thing that I see. And again, not being still learning myself. But if you're not covering enough water, you're not putting yourself in front of enough fish. I mean, for me, the forward facing just comes down to percentages, right? Big fish can I put myself in front of in a day to get 5 good bites?
Sure.
Once like my good friend John Hunt would say, sometimes it can be some mind-numbing stuff. But once you know what you're looking, it's pretty easy to sit there and go an hour without making a cast. And some days you don't find them, right? This whole fallacy of, you have forward facing sonar and you're going to go catch every big fish in the lake. It doesn't work like that. And even if you do find them, a lot of the times they're not going to bite whatever you throw at them. So it's a percentages game. The more ground you cover, the more fish you put yourself in front of. And yeah, it's pretty hard on trolling motors. And like Mitch said, I mean, even in nice weather, I mean, you fire up the big motor and you can go from, burning along at 3 miles an hour with your trolling motor. On 10, if you kick the big motor in gear, you can go 3, but you're not burning as much trolling motor battery up. So it's that kind of things you learn once you advance past, catching fish with forward facing, just being able to cover water.
For sure. It's crazy to see, where technology has gone with electronics and everything, but, trolling motors, people fishing with their big motor, I had the opportunity to just see how people are fishing, like with power poles and brakes.
Yep.
People start talking about brakes, and it's like, well, what does that mean? There's not brakes on a boat, for God's sakes. But when people are dropping the brakes and pulling against them with their big motor just to really dial in that speed so they're not running over fish and shooting past them and stuff, it's pretty impressive to watch. So, one of the questions that I asked Jake and Jared, last week when we were talking was, how do you make the decision? What goes through your head on the day of a tournament when you're on big fish, you're seeing the fish, how much time do you spend, working a fish or working a group of fish, when it gets to be late afternoon, do you spend 40 minutes working a group of fish and run 20 minutes back, or do you run closer back and try and hope you find fish? What goes through your head trying to make those decisions?
I mean, I can speak for myself on this one. I mean,
Sure.
it was one thing when I went out. I mean, I learned forward facing from Max Wilson.
Yeah, he mentioned that might have been a bad idea.
Yeah. No, TBD. I'm waiting for round 2, and he knows it.
Right.
For me personally, if I make 3 good casts on a fish and I know they're good, that might be same presentation, maybe a couple of difference. If it doesn't react the way that I want it to, and I'm on to the next one. It's and that it was spending time on the water with this technology. You start to kind of be able to read the fish. Yeah, can you force some into bite? I can speak for myself. I'm not a big believer of a reaction bite anymore. If they're going to bite, they're going to bite. If you drop it on their face and they don't bite it, you're not going to make them bite. So,
Sure.
I'm kind of a 3 and done guy.
Yeah, there's times of the year and water temps and all the things that play into, all of those things too. And, a lot, I think before everybody, including myself, was watching them on forward facing, if you made a couple of good casts right away and you got hit right away, people thought, oh, they're really reacting to that bait, when really there's a lot of other stuff that's going on and you didn't see that, you cast on multiple times and they don't react, where now you can really watch that and see, well, are they reacting or not? Does it pay to spend more time, or does it just pay to get moving and find a new fish?
Correct.
What did you say, Mitch, before? You said we troll? Is that what you said?
No, I got crankbaits and troll rods for sale if anybody wants them.
Right.
We try to figure that presentation out pre-fishing. I mean, and if the fish ain't taking it, like Dave says, on 2-3 good casts, you're on them, and they're not eating it, you got to move on. You can. I've come back to fish and caught them, an hour later. There's definitely bite windows on lakes, and I'm not afraid to hit a wave point on that fish and come back and circle that area and find that fish again. I've caught them this year doing that, and there's definitely bite windows on every body of water you fish. And for instance, me and my brother in the AIM on Lake of the Woods, it was we had 54 pounds by 10:30. No, it was by 11 o'clock the second day, and we had a fog delay. I don't remember what time we even got out. It was around 9. Dave, I don't remember, but you can do all your damage in a 5-fish tournament real fast if you're on the right fish, in a quick hurry. I always say it, a lot of these tournaments are won in an hour on the water, at some point during the day. So they hit that right bite, the right fish,
sure.
And
right
it's
place
over.
at the right time.
Yep.
So we all spent a whole bunch of time up on Lake of the Woods, throughout the summer between tournaments and doing different stuff. Talk about that fishery for just a minute. How do you guys feel about this year up on that fishery, just as a whole? Lake of the Woods is an amazing fishery all the time. But this year it just seemed like that lake just really, really, really produced a lot of big fish, a lot of great numbers, and a lot of really happy anglers.
It's a dinosaur factory. Me and my brother both had our personal best up there this summer. It was an absolute blast.
Yeah, it was fun to hear.
That fishery. I mean, and out pre-fishing, we decided we were going to cook fish one night. I'm like, just out pre-fishing, I was like, oh, there's a pot of some keepers. forecast, I had my 4 keepers in the boat. It was unbelievable. If you threw on a fish and you got it in front of their face, they ate. It was one of the funner lakes we fished all summer.
For sure. For sure. Dave, I know Dave had a blast up on Lake of the Woods in July and stuff too, and just there's just a lot of really big fish caught. I get the opportunity to see them all on the cards when they come in, and just some beautiful, healthy, big fish up on Lake of the Woods. It was crazy that the Chili Bowl was just last Saturday, and in the river, it was 35.10 pounds, for 5 fish in the river already at this time of year. So, they're still out there. It's pretty crazy.
Wow. I mean, I can't speak to what the fishing will be next year, but that July Derby that we had, I mean, if the fishing's anything like what it was this year, I mean, get up there. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it was no over exaggeration. I mean, we were throwing back 28s and 29s for fun. I mean, everything you threw at sizzled up and smoked it. You didn't have to let the jig go to the bottom. I mean, all of a sudden that mark would move and it came up and it just ripped the rods out of your hand. I mean, I know the one day pre-fishing, it was kind of funny. We ended up in our spot and this big old Vexus pulled in next to me. I didn't know who it was. And all of a sudden I see his rod bend and I hook into one and we're kind of drifting a little closer. All I see it was Will Pappenfuss. And he had caught a 30, and I think mine was a 32, and we realized who it was and each other, and we kind of laughed and were just giggling like schoolgirls, catching 29, 30-inch walleyes. And we said, we better get out of here. So, I mean, any derby, I think our average, I mean, me, Max, Hunter, Will, I mean, it was damn near 30-inch average fish. It's just nuts. I mean, and the thing is, the photos don't do those fish justice.
For sure.
The sheer girth on the humpbacks on those fish. I mean, the first one we caught practice was a 29 and a half, and Julian about passed out in the boat. And I wish I could have video recorded it. I mean, it was flopping around. It cut him down to the bone. I mean, it got him good. I'm like, those big ones don't mess around, Jay. So, I mean, unbelievable. And more so, the people up there, the resorts, it's just a fun place to be. I mean, shout out to my boy Trav at Border Bait. I mean, we stay with him. Great experience. I mean, all the resorts, Riverbend, Adrian, all of them. It doesn't matter where you go. Great people, great fishery. And if it isn't on your destination next year, it should be.
For sure. I know we're going back. We got a little bit of unfinished business here late this month, and then we'll close up shop until next season. But we'll definitely be back up on Lake of the Woods. So, I see the registrations. I don't see any Webbers or any Askews registered for October yet.
Did you know I like to sandbag?
I know. I know.
No, I mean, it's one of those deals. I mean, we're going to be there for sure. We're excited to get up there. It's, as much as your registrations don't appreciate the lack of activity, I can go on record and say we'll be there.
Yeah, rumor has it that, well, it's not rumor. I saw the flyer that Hunters is having gun bingo during the day on Saturday. And it is a pretty impressive gun bingo fundraiser that they're doing up there for Camp Confidence. So people want to come up and hang out with us during the day, I'm going to guess you'll find us inside at Hunters trying to win some guns while you guys are trying to cash some checks.
No.
So, well, guys, I appreciate the time to just sit and chit chat about the season, and we look forward to seeing you end of the month if it all works out for all of us to get together. And until next time, we will end it here.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Yep. Take care, guys.
Yep. Thanks, Jimmy. Have a good one.
Yep. Take care. Thanks for joining us.